Sometimes it feels like the sun will never rise, like the birds will never sing again. Believe in a power greater than what you are going through. When you don't know what to do, keep breathing.
That's right. Just keep on breathing. From Los Angeles and New York City, a big LA and Big Apple. Welcome to all my listeners out there in Radio Land. I'm Dave, the Caregiver's Caregiver at CaregiverDave.com, along with my lovely co-host, Adrienne Gruberg from the CaregiverSpace.org. Say hello, Adrienne.
Hello.
Coming to you live and on demand 24/7 on that's an old number, on 25 global
25.
audio and video class. Yes, 25, count them. iTunes, iHeartRadio, YouTube, Spreaker, SoundCloud, Vimeo, Stitcher Radio, Blog Talk Radio, Mixcloud, Listen Notes, Blueberry, Player FM, Podcast.com, VIP Internet Radio, Facebook Live, HealthyLife.net, CaregiverDave.com, and many more. And we're proud to be voted the number 2 best podcast out of the top 6 best caregiver podcasts by Caring.com. And many other voting have put us in the top 10 out of thousands. And we have an exciting show planned for you today. It's just for us today. And we had a guest who canceled at the last minute because of a hurricane and no power and no internet. Can you imagine such a lame excuse as that as canceling our interview, Adrienne? I mean,
no, not with laptops in this world, but that's besides.
Well, we're going to reschedule that. But I was on this thing. This tell me again what you call it, Maria.
Caregiver's Mixer.
I was on a Caregiver's Mixer, virtual, and all these people with caregiver questions were coming on. And they had 2 minutes, and then boom, the next one would come on, and then boom, the next one would come on. You can extend it if you want. And I met this girl, Marija Taneska, and she is a student, and she's almost a psychologist with her bachelor's, and she was asking some very, very intelligent questions, and while we were on, I got a call from New Jersey saying, power's not coming on, we'll have to reschedule, and so I asked her right on the spot, hey, how would you like to join me in a few minutes or to be on a international radio show? And she said, oh, well, I'm not prepared. And I says, well, listen, Maria, I gave her the pep talk. I says, successful people have to be ready in season and out. And when the curtain goes up, they got to be ready to sing their song, to do their dance. And she so graciously agreed to allow me to push her out of her comfort zone. And here she is today among friends. It's just you and me, Maria and Adrienne. We're in my living room, and we're just talking. So let me start with the first question. Who is Marija Taneska, and why was she put on this earth? There you go.
Okay, so I am a psychology student who is currently working on my graduation thesis. I consider myself just to be a very basic person. I love reading, I love nature, and I love music. Those are my 3 interests and things that relax me. I love spending time with my family, with my friends, with my partner. I am very curious. I am very outgoing. I'm just a regular person. I don't consider myself to be exceptional or different from most of the people. So
one day you will be exceptional. Just keep telling yourself that, because there's nothing wrong with being exceptional. And you're from Macedonia.
Yes.
How did you learn English, and what's it like living in Macedonia? Tell people where Macedonia is, because that's a biblical city, isn't it?
It's a biblical city.
It is a country, and it is located in the central of the Balkans. And I've known English basically since I've known Macedonian. So I speak English since I was a child, since I was in preschool, but we learn it at school. When I was in elementary school, I started learning it from my 4th grade, and today children learn it from their first grade. So basically, once you enter the formal educational system, you start learning English. But most of the children now know English even before they enroll into education, because the internet is basically English.
It's
Sure.
a very smart school system you have there. Very smart. Some people don't feel that way and they're left behind. So good for you.
Oh yes, and once you enter the higher grades, you even have a second foreign language. So I learned
Oh,
French, and then I studied Italian as well.
didn't I
So
tell
yes,
you? You sounded like you had a French accent. That's
yes,
where that
thank
came
you,
from.
thank you. And living in Macedonia is, I could say, pleasant. It's a small country with very warm people. It's a beautiful country, beautiful nature. So
A nice
it
place
has
for
ups and downs.
visitors to visit. Good tourism.
Yes, yes, yes. We have
Um,
very well developed tourism, and I actually come from a tourist place. I live by the oldest lake in Europe, so that's
mm,
Ohrid Lakes, and it's very beautiful. The nature in the
Mm.
country is amazing, and it is for me, I would say, a hidden gem. So I warmly
Mm.
recommend you to
I'm going to
visit.
put it on my
Okay.
list of places to visit. Thank you. So, caregiving, most of my audience are burned out caregivers. We're trying to help them survive, not to die, because 30% of them die before their loved ones do. You're learning to be a psychologist, and you were on a chat for caregivers specifically. So I understand you have a burden for caregivers. You have a heart for caregivers. Tell us where that burden and that interest came from.
Yes. Well, I was working as an activity coordinator in a dementia care home in the United
Mm.
Kingdom when I first came across uh, people with dementia, and when I realized what is right and what is wrong. So the first what I learned is that we have a totally wrong approach for dementia.
Mm.
Uh, There are many misinformation, many stereotypes that go around the concept, and then the caregiving topic is a whole new topic that is behind this. And I would see family members come and talk to their loved ones, and they would talk to me, and I realized in talking in those conversations of how hard this process is for them, even though
Mm.
Mm.
even now when their loved ones are in the care home, you could still feel the pain, you could still feel the guilt, you could still feel the denial they
Mm.
felt towards the whole situation. And I realized this is not the way to treat this. So
Yeah.
people need to learn how to do this. Because it is not something that comes naturally. We are not born with the capacity to care for other people. But it is something very expected from us, especially in my country, in more traditional societies. But I've come across this phenomenon also with talking with people from different countries. So if you have an older parent or an older relative or a wife, brother, doesn't matter, and if they get ill and not well, it is your obligation. It is a natural process
Mm.
to care for them, and you are caught up in a situation that you are not prepared for, and you don't have the right mindset for, and you don't have the
Hmm.
right support for. And it is something that I realized in that moment should be changed.
Wow, that is very profound. Both of my mother and my mother-in-law had dementia, and I'm very familiar with the challenges of dementia. At first I thought that stroke was a tough one to care for, someone with suffering from aphasia, the inability to speak, etc. But when my mother had dementia, and then my mother-in-law, I changed my whole mind. I said, no, 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 this is worse than that. Can you just give maybe three or four specific problems or things that people who have loved ones with dementia fail to do or do incorrectly, and what recommendations you would have to change that? Because you're in a unique position. You're young, you have fresh ideas, you're just going to come out of school with your degree, you speak all these languages. You're going to change the world, my dear. So we have the privilege of hearing it from you first. Go ahead.
Well, the thing, there is no recipe. The first thing is there is no recipe and there is no formula for caring with somebody who has dementia because it's progressive and it's unpredictable. And what we need to learn is first to support ourselves in order to be able to support. Dementia is demanding because you have the psychological, the mental deterioration, and then you have the physical deterioration. So you're dealing with two processes, very different of a kind. And the first one is more demanding physically, but generally it is an emotionally demanding experience. That is what drains caregivers. And when I talk to caregivers, they usually say, "I don't mind the physical demands. What hurts me most is that I'm not able to carry on with the connection I had with my mother, wife, spouse, brother, or whoever they're caring for." So there is a change in relationship. And what I would like to put an emphasis on is that a changed relationship is not a lost relationship. So yes, it is hard to become a carer of a person who you were equal to or who cared for you maybe in the first place, and to lose their support. But you still have the connection. It's just the nature of the connection that's changed. So for example, if it's a spouse, you are losing support in your life, and especially if they were the one who were looking after the household more, or who were there to carry out important decisions, there's a lot of burden on the person who's caring. But what is important is that it's not lost, and I cannot emphasize this enough. Dementia is not a dead sentence. You can still include your loved one into everyday life. It is just going to be different. And how is this possible? It's in the small things, I say. So you're cooking something, you're making lunch, you're cleaning something. You do not neglect them. They're not disappeared. Include them with small things, with minor things. They're gonna feel needed. They're gonna feel useful, and you're gonna get that small support and small interaction that you're lacking in your relationship. So that is something that is very often forgotten, because it is not the caregiver's fault. It is how we treat dementia in the first place. So we need a systematic change.
That's a great point.
Dementia is not something that just steals the person. There is their personality is changing, is deteriorating, but they're still here.
Yes.
And what we need to support them with things they love and they enjoy in. When I used to work with people who have dementia, who live with dementia, I wasn't trying to find an activity who's going to please all of them. What I was first do is read their file and talk to them. So learn about their life history, what they liked, what they didn't like, what hobbies they enjoyed, what movies, what kind of music. Because we must never forget that there is a person standing opposite of you. It is not a disease. It is not something that you cannot connect with. It is a person. talk to the person, get to know the person, find the healthy potential in them that you can collaborate with.
Mm.
We might not be able to collaborate with the ill part, but we are always able to collaborate with the healthy potential in the person.
Mm-hmm.
So generally, that is what I've noticed and what I recommend. I mean, I could talk for this for another 5 episodes of the show.
I can hear the passion in your voice.
Yes.
What do you do? There's a lot of questions that people have about their loved one with dementia. For example, here's some questions that I had. Now, I had 2 people, my mother and my mother-in-law, and they both behaved very differently. My mother was so cuddly and nice and understanding and complicit and obedient. Whereas my mother-in-law, on the other hand, she was more like a witch. She disagreed, she argued, she was, chose to believe that somebody was breaking into her house 5 times a day and stealing her stuff, and then breaking in again and putting them back in different places to drive her crazy. She believed that I was trying to steal her house and drive her crazy, and she changed the locks 4 or 5 times. What do you do with someone like the latter? Because the first one is pretty easy to care for. You just, and when she said, what was that again? And why don't I remember things? She embraced her dementia. She knew that she had a problem, but my mother-in-law, she refused to believe that there was a problem with her memory. And whenever something obvious would come up, she would argue. So there's 2 such situations here. What do you do with the dementia patient who just refuses, is in denial, and is delusional? What do you do with them when you have to talk about reality sometimes? You can't always agree with them, can you?
Yes, well, it is a delicate question. And first, when we talk about dementia, we have to be mindful that we are talking about an umbrella term that covers different type of conditions that generally affect person's cognition, personality, and behavior, but also their functioning and limits their independence. So dementia is caused by different kinds of diseases. Mostly it's Alzheimer's disease, but there are also other types of conditions that cause dementia, and they all have different symptoms. So in Alzheimer's, you see people having delusional thoughts and sometimes even hallucinations. And it is hard to argue with this. Why? Because it is there. However frustrating it is for you at the moment, it is their reality.
Mm-hmm.
And convincing them that you are not trying to break into their house, it is like convincing you that you are not talking to me at this moment.
Mm-hmm. So it's foolish to disagree with them or to argue with them about things that you're never going to convince them of. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Yes, and instead of wasting your energy into that, we need to invest our energy in trying to understand what's behind. Because in that condition, you generally feel confused. The world around you is unfamiliar. You don't recognize sometimes the people around you. You think you are somewhere else. You need familiarity, you need structure, you need support, and you're afraid. And what in that moment the person needs is they need to be understood. And behind those repetitive phrases, like you said, somebody's trying to break into my house, there is a worry, a fear behind that sometimes cannot be verbalized. And what you need to do is you're not gonna stand there and waste your energy in explaining nobody's trying, it's me, your son-in-law, your son, no, I love your gift. No, ask who who is trying to break into your house? And what do you think they're trying to steal? You might get into what are they afraid to lose at the moment, and they might say, they're gonna hurt my son. For example, they think that they have a baby in the house maybe, or they're gonna steal something very valuable from me. I'm gonna lose something. And that is how you get to the need. And then reassure them, okay, I'm gonna check all of the doors and make sure nobody's getting into the house. For example, I'm gonna go and talk to that person and ask them to leave the house, to leave the room, or take them into another room where they feel safer and calmer. If you go into the road of arguing, you're just gonna get more frustration from both sides. So you need to as I said earlier, collaborate with their healthy potential. See the worry, the fear, whatever it is, the need behind those repetitive thoughts and phrases.
Good points. Good points. Listen, we're going to take a break now. We'll be right back. Don't go away, okay? Dave Nassaney, the Caregiver's Caregiver, has just released his 6th book entitled It's My Life Too, Thrive to Stay Alive as a Caregiver. It was specifically written for caregivers who know they should be putting their needs first, but just don't know how. Dave is the sole caregiver to his wife, Charlene, since 1996. He knows firsthand what caregivers are going through, because he is one. He now speaks all across the country, offering caregivers his amazing caregiver support package. Even the airlines tell us that in the event of an emergency, to put your oxygen mask on first, before you help your child with their mask. They know that those who don't heed their advice often black out, thus becoming unable to help either themselves or their child. And caregivers are exactly the same way. It's My Life Too, Thrive and Stay Alive as a Caregiver, will help caregivers who are neglecting their sleep, diet, and social life and learn to put their needs first. Pick up your copy today or buy one for your special caregiver, on sale everywhere and at caregiverdave.com. And we're back with Marija Taneska and me, Caregiver Dave, and Adrienne Gruberg of the Caregiver Space. And we're talking about dementia. Marija, Adrienne also does what I do in a different way, but she has something called the Caregiver Space. It's a website and it's a Facebook page, and she has chat rooms and groups of different support groups, like a cancer support group and an aftercare group, because a lot of people get depressed after they're not a caregiver anymore, and so on. Do you have any questions for Marija related to what you've heard so far?
Yeah. There is a problem with people being equipped to deal with dementia and with Alzheimer's. There are no classes. You're just sort of thrown into it. In some cases, slowly. In some cases, it's very quick. But I also found that when people are let out of the hospital, caregivers are not told how to care for the people that they're going home with. They're lost, and it's not just related to dementia and Alzheimer's. Caregivers are very often totally ill-equipped. I really feel that when somebody's being discharged, the caregiver should get a packet that's specific to the kind of problems that the person's being discharged has. So when you said that was what it made me think of.
Yeah,
so
that's a good point.
That's another area that needs to be worked on.
You thought about things like that, Marija?
Yes, and thank you for bringing this up. I mean, it is very important. As I said, nobody prepares you for this because it is still treated as a part of your family role. But it is actually not. It is not normative. And if they usually compare it with bringing up children, but it is completely different. Because when you bring up children, most often it is your choice, conscious choice to have children. But even if it's not, children development is progressive. They become more and more independent from you as time goes by. Caring with somebody who lives with dementia is regressive. They become more and more dependent of you as time goes by, and you are not young as when you were when you had children, most probably, and you have maybe your own children to take care of, and you're not in a position of getting somebody being more and more dependent of you. So a support system, a systematically developed support system is needed from the first moment you receive a diagnosis.
Right.
So first, what is it? What is this condition? What should I expect?
Exactly.
When, where, and how can I ask for help? Am I ready for this? So that is a very good question to ask yourself. Do I want to do this? Am I willing to do this? Am I going to end up regretting or being bitter at the end of this? Am I going to ruin my life or ruin my family's life? And nobody gives you the time to think about this.
Right.
You're just giving a diagnosis, and it is your life now. However you cope with it, it is up to you. And that is not how we should treat this problem that affects millions of people worldwide and their families. That is unimaginable. So we need a systematic approach from the first moment, starting from the information you receive, setting up your expectations, and supporting you throughout the whole process, and not treating it like it's something it is obligatory for you to do. No matter whoever it is, whether it's your spouse, your mother, your brother, however maybe mean it sounds, you're not obligated to do that. And you're not obligated to do it alone. You need support, you need education, and you need somebody to care for you as well.
Mm-hmm.
Marija, have you heard about the new dementia communities that are being planned and actually built in Europe? I believe they were. I've read about them. Nothing here yet, but they sound really nice. I mean, on paper, do they really work? Have you done any research on them?
I've read about them. They're called dementia villages, actually.
Yes.
And it is a very nice concept because, first of all, it gives people independence. And as I mentioned earlier, with some of the participants on the mixer, it gives them sense of community, and that is why that is one of the first things lost.
A safe environment, kind of like you would baby-proof your house
yes.
or whatever. You're baby-proofing your city. Or
and it's giving them a community, which is, they would be isolated otherwise.
You don't have to worry about them wandering off because everyone's watching out for each other.
And I've mentioned earlier, I'm not sure if I talked this with you, Dave, but one of the most challenging things about caring with somebody who lives with dementia is keeping their dignity.
Yes.
Because once you receive a diagnosis of dementia, you are automatically treated differently. After a while, social isolation comes because you are not considered to be a valuable participant of community. And in some cases, people are considered to be even dangerous, aggressive, lost, that there are stereotypes that you cannot carry on a conversation with somebody who has dementia, that they don't know who they are, where they are, and it is generalized to all millions of cases.
And most people with dementia have very good long-term memories. They can tell you what they did 30, 40 years ago, just not 5 minutes ago.
Right.
It is true. And there is a lot of wisdom in them. And there's a lot of knowledge. They have their whole life experience behind them. So there's a lot that you can learn from somebody who has dementia. Again, once you receive a diagnosis of dementia, you become dementia. You are not somebody who lives with dementia. And that is something that has recently changed. It was a person who suffers from dementia. So just from the terminology, we can see how it is treated.
Mm-hmm.
And now it is somebody who lives with dementia is used, which is good. But are we treating them like people who live with dementia, or are we treating them like dementia and nothing else?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's so true.
So that is the primary question we need to pass upon ourselves as society, as scientists, as professionals, caregivers. How are we treating people? How are we approaching them?
Yeah.
Marija, you talked originally about knowing the person and their history, and then sort of, for lack of a better phrase, just designing, what life with them should be like. But I don't necessarily feel that their family caregiver is equipped to do that. How do you see society changing, the mental health area changing, elder care changing, to address these cases as individuals? I mean, because they remain individuals and have to be treated to be successfully treated. You're saying they need to be treated as a whole person.
Yes. As I said, it should be a systematic change, because dementia is more than just a disease. It is a system, because it affects a person, it affects their family, and eventually it affects society, because you are losing participants in society, you are losing workforce, their families. If you're a caregiver, let's be honest, you cannot give 100% at work, because you are stressed. You feel depressed. You are tired. You cannot spend time with your family as much as you would love to. You cannot take care of yourself. So you are losing basically healthy, happy people if you're not supporting them correctly. So, as I said, from the first moment you receive a diagnosis, you should also receive a whole system of information. First, as I said, all the information you need about the specific case of your loved one. What should not be expected? Of course, dementia is not predictable, but there are different types, as we said, of conditions, and what is specific to this condition, what is specific to this person, also regarding their medical history, apart from the dementia diagnosis, how we should treat these cases, what kinds of treatments are available. So where can we find alternative type of treatments? What kind of medication? What kind of support? So everything that's related to the specific illness-related information, if I could say that. And then about the caregiver, support groups, groups or institutions actually where we could apply for financial help. Mental health support, assisted living possibilities for hiring a person to help you. So all of this information should be given as a package from the first moment. So at any point, if I feel that I cannot do this anymore, or I don't have enough money, I don't have enough time, I know where to call. That is something I think should be mandatory, and some kind of program, some kind of trainings.
Training. Yes.
Yeah,
So
very good point.
if you are a caregiver, okay, we are giving you once a month an opportunity to learn how to do this, how to take care of yourself, how to take care of your loved one. So how to properly take care. Why? Because then, as Dave said, you end up in these kinds of discussions. You end up getting frustrated because they are repeating sentences and you don't know what to tell them anymore, because you've heard this for 100 times today and I cannot do this anymore, and oh my God, how to approach those kinds of situations. You shouldn't be taught that. So that is something that I think should be treated systematically, where the healthcare system, the system for social care and educational system should work together to support caregivers and to support people who live with dementia.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. We're up on a break in about 3 minutes, but I wanted to ask you, what about the people who say, and I've said this myself, my sister said it to me, when I go visit Mom, I've been there for like 4 hours and I come home and I get a call the next day. Where are you? You haven't visited me in a month. And she says, I wonder, why do I even go? Because she's not even going to remember that I was there. What do you say to people who say that?
I'm just gonna quote, I believe, Maya Angelou, and she said, people might not remember what you said, but people will always remember how you made them feel. Your mother might not remember that your sister was there, but the emotion, the warmth, the happiness stays, and it does stay. It is not something that I just came up. It does stay, because when I return to work every day, some of my clients, they didn't know my name, they didn't know who I was or what I did there, but they were happy when they would see me, because they knew they had this emotional memory that we did something nice together, that we did something that made them feel good together.
A moment.
Yes, but they didn't know me, and I didn't care. I just cared that they felt happy.
Yeah, that's very good. There's a book out called Moments that talks about how, go for the moments, even if the moment only lasts a few seconds. I remember that scene in the movie of The Notebook. Remember when she didn't know him, then all of a sudden they're dancing, and she says, "Hey, let's go for a drive. Let's get out of here," and this and that. And, the point is, enjoy the moments. Don't be frustrated when they're not there or when they leave, because they may not remember what you said, as you said, but they remember that they had a great moment. And it may make them happy the rest of the day or the rest of the week. And they don't know why they're happy, but they're happy because there was a moment there. So the other thing I want to talk about is, I have a gas station, and one time this guy came in and his demented father followed him, and he wasn't aware that he followed him into the station, to buy something. And when he realized, he turned around, he saw him, he said, "What are you doing here? I told you to stay in the car. You never listen to me." He's just embarrassing this guy in front of all the customers. And his small son is there listening to all of this. And I always say, be careful how you treat your elders, because you are modeling to your children how they should treat you. You agree with that?
Yes, definitely. So, yes, definitely. Children receive the behavior more than they receive the words. So each message has a content and has a relation. So when I'm communicating you, I'm telling you some content, but I'm also communicating a relation to you. So is it respectful? Is it, I don't know, loving? Or is it aggressive? Children react to the relation. They don't react to the content very much. So we find ourselves asking children, are you even listening to me? Yes. Yes, children, they do listen to you, but they listen to the relation. And it is very important how we behave in front of children.
I'm at a point in social reality where behavior and respect and things like that are almost going by the wayside because of cell phones. That people are not learning how to interact the way they should. And if a kid is sitting in the back of a car and you throw, a tablet at them to keep busy and you don't engage them and teach them certain behaviors, they're going to be lacking when the time comes for them to be there for somebody else.
That's so true.
It is challenging to balance between technology and
humanity.
More classical parenting. Yes, you might take humanity, but you see, it is an evolution. It is where the world goes.
Yes.
And removing that from your children is not also the way.
No.
That is why parenting is all about balance.
Yes.
Listen, we're up on another break. We'll be right back. We'll continue this conversation. Don't go away.
We are a community of caregivers that understands and supports you wherever you are in your journey. We are a place to connect with other caregivers, but more importantly, a place to get practical, actionable help. There are lots of ways for you to get support. First of all, you can download our welcome pack. This will get you started on your Thrive journey. Next, you can ask and get answers to your questions by posting them here in our private Facebook groups. You can also get live online support by attending one of our live weekly Connect webinars. You can get practical, actionable advice by listening to our weekly podcast. You can hear and read other stories about other caregivers' experiences. Plus, add your own in our weekly Share Your Story forum, posted every Tuesday in the Facebook group. You can access essential resources and download practical Thrive Solutions Packs, all of which are geared to help you thrive as a caregiver. You get lifetime access to all of our resources. Again, we're here to support you and to help you thrive and to enjoy your life as a caregiver. And remember, this is a place to get hope, not just cope.
And we are back with Marija Taneska and my co-host Adrienne Gruberg, and I'm Dave Nassaney, caregiverdave.com, and we're talking about dementia. This has been an amazing conversation. I wanted to say, have you had any personal experience with dementia, any relatives or friends besides the patients that you've been spending some time with? And if not, then tell us about what you've learned, the most that you've learned from a particular patient and the story behind it.
I've not had a very close relative who has developed dementia. I had some relatives who I've not had very close relations with. But
and I hope you never will.
Yeah.
Yes, but it is, at this point, it's more wishful thinking, because it is expected the number of people who are affected by dementia to grow in the future, and as the number of patients grows, the number of caregivers grows. So nobody is safe.
No.
Yes, that is why we need to learn how to approach this correctly. And what I've learned I could say I've learned something from everybody, but what I've learned is to live in the moment, because that is the only time. However ironical and paradoxical it may sound, that is the only time when you can interact with somebody who has dementia. If you stay present and in the moment with them and with whatever they bring to you in the moment. I had clients who would ask for their wives, who would ask to catch the train the whole time, and if you start rationalize that, you are going the wrong way, as we said. You just live in the moment, and in the moment that is the reality for them. Fine, okay, that's the reality for you. I've also learned to be grateful for what we've had, what I've had, and what I have in my life, and to make memories. Make memories, even though besides the risk of losing them all.
Right. You know, a lot of people are offended when they don't remember you anymore. And I heard someone say, and tell me if you agree with this, that it's not that they really forget who you are. They just, their mind is going backwards, so they remember you as a young man or as a young woman or as a child. And there was an example of this husband knocking on the door, and the wife says, "Yes, who is it?" He says, "It's me, let me in." So she recognized the voice, she let him in, and when she saw him, she says, "Who are you? Get out of here!" Because she remembered her husband as, you know, tall, dark, and handsome, and this guy was old, pudgy, and bald, you know, and she just didn't remember him anymore. Is that true?
Yes, that is absolutely true. Not that they only not remember the changes that occurred to you from the time they had the diagnosis, because they're not able to form new memories most of the time. But they also sometimes are found in different periods of their life, so they might not even remember at the moment that they were married. They might think that at the moment they are children. Mm-hmm. And they might ask for, or they might confuse their daughters with their mothers. I've seen this very often. And it's probably because of the emotion. So you feel that you love this person, you feel the love, you feel the caring, and you're confused because you cannot recall at the moment that you had children. You think you are a child and this is your mother. And that is very true. So,
and I'm sure you were mistaken sometimes for a daughter of one of your clients, yes?
Yes, I was mistaken. They usually they called me kid.
And how do you deal with that if you're talking to them and they think you're someone else? You try to correct them, or you just go along with it?
It depends. So the people who live with dementia have fluctuations in their cognition throughout the day, throughout the periods of the days, and some days or some periods of the days they are more lucid, and they think more clearly. They're able to remember better. They're able to carry out a conversation better, and at times they are more confused. And this confusion causes them frustration. So you need to calculate whether your correction is going to cause frustration and anxiety. So if they are in a state that is more confused, you are not going there. You might change the subject. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you might change if you do not feel comfortable with that. You might change the subject, but do not go into saying I'm not your daughter is there and that. Right. And one thing I wouldn't recommend doing is I had many clients who were asking for their dead spouses, and if you tell them that their wife or husband is dead at that moment, it could turn out to be very bad. Because it is their reality at the moment, and I cannot emphasize this enough. It is their reality. They are not inventing that. It is their reality, and for them it is real as this is for me. And imagine somebody coming, you ask for somebody who you love, you want to see them, you miss them, and somebody comes and tells you they're not alive.
Right.
I
You
have
shouldn't
a
tell them they're
question.
Don't go
delusional.
for.
I have a question. I have a dear friend
Yes.
who now has dementia, and she will call in the middle of the night and say, Jordan has left me. That was her husband. And Jordan's been dead for about 25 years now. And have to tell her, like, Jordan loves you. He would never leave you. But it's something that just keeps recurring. So some people that she calls in the middle of the night say, Jordan loved you so much, and, you know, he's been gone for 25 years. He's been dead for 25 years. How do you handle that? It's very disturbing to be awakened in the middle of the night and have to have your wits about you to deal with that kind of a question.
Yes, well, it might be, and at that point, you might decide not to answer if you feel disturbed. Yes, if you feel disturbed, it is better not to answer maybe at that point than to yell at your friend or to tell her that her husband is dead.
Oh no, I just tell her that Jordan loves you.
So sorry, their safety should be a priority.
Yeah.
So at that moment, however bad it may sound, if you are aware and accepting of their condition, you need to do everything to ensure their safety at the moment.
Yeah, we only have 3 more minutes to go. Time really flies when you're having fun. You're a great guest. But I wanted to talk about meds. I know you're almost a psychologist, not a psychiatrist, so maybe you don't know a lot about meds, but there's so much money going to dementia research. You know, the Dementia, what do they call that? Dementia Association has huge fundraising, and I know they're taking a lot of money, almost as much as cancer research. Is that money like helping? Are they coming up with new meds to help or prolong or slow down, or what do you know about that?
Yes, well, you're right. We, as a psychologist, I won't be dealing with medication in my life, but how far are we in that field? Most of the medication usually ease the symptoms. There are some medication to ease the distress, so anxiety or depression medication, and
delusions.
Yes. So antipsychotic medication, and then there are some that are helping you to get, if I could say, mental clarity.
Yeah.
But there is no cure. We're not at the point where we have something to.
Can we slow it down? Can we stop at that point that they're at so it doesn't get worse? Is that possible or no?
There are many research about slowing and preventing, but they are more concerned with lifestyle than with medication. So there are some crucial factors that have been identified regarding lifestyle that prevent or maybe slow down the delays. Even when the person is diagnosed, there are some lifestyle alterations that could may ease the symptoms and delay the cognitive decline. But that is it is not a formula. So I would say I could tell that Mediterranean diet, aerobic exercise, maintaining healthy blood sugar levels, because latest research indicates that Alzheimer might be type of diabetes. So and then not smoking and drinking moderately. Everything that gives enough healthy nutrition and oxygen to your brain is recommended.
Yeah. You bring up an interesting issue about drinking, because I have a nephew whose mother has Alzheimer's or dementia, whatever it is she has, and she's an alcoholic. She drinks so much, and believe it or not, her dementia and Alzheimer's was caused by her alcoholism. How often does that happen? And she won't stop drinking.
That's actually called Korsakoff syndrome. And it is connected to the loss of vitamin B caused by alcohol intake. And it is very serious consequence of alcoholism or excessive alcohol consumption. So it might, in some cases, not be as severe cognitive decline as Alzheimer's, but it is, and it is progressive over time.
Yeah.
So
well, we've run out of time. I am so glad I met you today, and I'm so glad that you went out of your comfort zone and agreed to come on your very first international radio interview and video, I might add. You'll be on YouTube and Vimeo, many audio and video platforms across the globe. So how do you feel? You did a great job. How'd you do?
Yeah, I think she did a great job.
You're very knowledgeable. You're very articulate. I would never know that this was your first interview. You were very professional. Congratulations.
Well, I have these kinds of conversations in my head all the time, so it is not my first interview, if you see it that way. But yes, I felt amazing, actually. I really do love talking on this subject. And a while ago, I realized that I do not talk enough on this subject. I don't have enough people in my life to talk about this subject. And thank you very much for this.
Start your own radio show.
I might as well. So thank you very much for this.
You're so good at it. And how do we get a hold of you if we want to speak? If someone wants to speak to you, or has questions about dementia, or waiting for you to write your next book, or your first book, I should say. That's what happens. You got to write a book, you know.
Yes. So people can contact me on Facebook, LinkedIn, WhatsApp, and Twitter. So it's my basically full name. I don't know if we can write this somewhere or here it is, because it actually
put it down somewhere. Go ahead and spell it one more time.
Yes, it's Marija. That's my name, Marija. Yes, and then my last name. That's Taneska,
Taneska, just like it sounds.
Yes, it's pretty much as it sounds. So I'm available to be contacted. So thank you very much, Dave and Adrienne. It's been it was a beautiful experience.
Good.
It was
really.
Great.
Yes. And I would also like to add that I am conducting research at the moment, and if anybody, a caregiver, is interested in taking part, they could just reach out to me. Yes, throughout my
or you can reach out to us, and we'll reach out to her. One or the other. You can reach out to me or her.
Yes.
So
thank you very much,
everybody, for coming in. We will see you next week.
Sometimes it feels like the sun will never rise, like the birds will never sing.